Welcome to the College Football Pub Hub, Pub Sports Radio, Saturday, September the 10th. Ian Cameron, Conor Mac, Big Ragoo, DJ Big Boss. We are here and we're ready for another Saturday of college football. Let's get right into it. Arkansas State, Ohio State, first game, noon Eastern, 44.5-point favorites, Ohio State, 68.5, 69 being the total in this game. Ohio State, yeah, that offense, a lot of hype, a lot of expectation coming into the season. And yes, they beat Notre Dame, failed to cover, most importantly, against Notre Dame. But that offense really didn't click like we thought it would for Ohio State in that game. It was a bit of a struggle to move the football. We'll see if they can bounce back here. Now, Jackson Smith and Jigba got hurt in that game against Notre Dame. You can't use that as an excuse. There's other receivers. They could have done it. Still had a better offensive game than they did, but credit Notre Dame's defense. He won't play today, it looks like. Smith and Jigba makes sense. I mean, you're playing Arkansas State. You should have a pretty easy time of it anyway. Makes sense to rest him on a game like this. It's probably a game where our Ohio State's offense can get back on track, look like that offense we expected them to be. Arkansas State certainly is going to be in for some trouble probably today defensively. This was a horrible defensive team last year. I don't know if they're necessarily leaps and bounds better on that side of the ball coming into this season. James Blackman, of course, the Florida State transfer, is their starting quarterback. And boy, he better be ready to score some points because, Ohio State's going to get theirs. So I'm not involved in the game personally. I'm just not in the business of laying 44.5 points. That's a lot of points to be laying in a spot like this, but not really interested in the underdog either. Conor Mac, Arkansas State, Ohio State.
Yeah, let's keep this one brief. Nothing here. It's Ohio State or pass. There's just a huge points here. I even think they could cover the first half, which is insane, 28.5. I don't know how Arkansas State stops them, so I'm not on it like you aren't, but Ohio State or nothing.
All right, Big Ragoo.
Yeah, same here. It's a one-way street all the way. Blackman is not going to be fazed by Ohio State if that accounts for anything, but it's a game that I don't want to be involved with. Maybe a backdoor for Blackman late in the game. Who knows? But pass for me.
All right, DJ.
Definitely a pass for me, but I just like to say that usually I fade teams that are getting or got to lay a lot of points week after playing a team like Notre Dame because most teams bring their A game and sometimes it's just a little more relaxing playing the other team. So that's a big number out there. Not getting to the window with it, but if I would, I'd definitely lay Arkansas State.
All right, we've got North Carolina, Georgia State, North Kakalaki, 7-point road favorite, 64.5 the total. Who's wanting to lay 7 on the road with that defense after what we saw last week? Not me. I actually took Georgia State here in this game plus 7.5. I mean, we saw App State with the run game really do some serious damage. Georgia State's a run-first offense, and I kind of like Granger, the quarterback for Georgia State. He's got some capability. That's really when the team started to come together last year when he took over at the quarterback spot for them. And I think you're going to see him continue to progress. I mean, they got Jamari Thrash, Robert Lewis, 2 capable receivers, but they're a very good run team. Tucker Gregg at running back. And look, North Carolina couldn't stop the run last week. And, laying points with a bad defense is not something I'm willing to do. Now, Georgia State, believe it or not, don't be fooled by the score against South Carolina. I thought they played very well. The kick return game really killed Georgia State in that game. A couple of kick return touchdowns for South Carolina in a game that was very close, if not for that. So if Georgia State can clean up the special teams and the kick coverage issues today, I think they're very much in this game. Now, I do have to give North Carolina's offense a lot of credit. Drake May looks very good so far. I mean, he was awesome. For as bad as that defense looked last week, that offense and Drake May at quarterback for North Carolina looked very good. But I'm telling you what, Georgia State, I'm willing to say right now their defense is probably a little bit more reliable than what we saw from App State last week in that game. So, and I don't underestimate the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt continues to be a conference that is improving, is getting better. We saw Troy. I took a Troy against Ole Miss last week. Troy covered the number against an SEC team. I think Georgia State's capable of hanging, especially with the defensive deficiencies we're seeing out of the Tar Heels. So I'm definitely looking at the home underdog here, Georgia State getting a touchdown. Conor Mac, what do you think? UNC, Georgia State.
Yeah, there's no way. Good luck to people that want to bet on North Carolina. There's no way I can do it. The positive sign that you were talking about was, Georgia State ran it well against South Carolina. I think they had over 2 something last week. And we know App State just gashed all those crazy points that we mentioned was just an easy over last week. So I get the 7.5 if you can. North Carolina took care of them last year. But this defense, I think, is even leakier. And this total's crashed a little bit, but maybe it's too low. I mean, I think there's still a little bit that this game, could get over. With a defense like that, that's the only way I'd look, because it went from 68 to 64, 64.5. So, yeah, I like the points here, and I lean over.
Yeah, I'm getting more interested in the over. The one concern is Georgia State's defense is actually pretty good. I thought they played really well against South Carolina. Spencer Rattler was, no pun intended, rattled for a good part of that game. It took him a while to get going. That defense is pretty solid. North Carolina's isn't, obviously, and Georgia State does not play fast at all. They really slow it down, run heavy. So that's be the one concern about the over, but I ain't betting a North Carolina under. Not with that defense. No way, no how. What do you think, Big Ragoo?
I think Georgia State's going to control the tempo in this game. That's my personal opinion with Darren Granger. But they're going to be points. Points are going to come both ways because NC's defense is a little subpar. But yeah, this is Georgia State's game to kind of pull an upset off here possibly. But I really like the 7 here. But I won't get to the one to win it. But you won't get an argument out of me taking Georgia State here without a question.
All right, what do you think here, DJ Big Boss?
I'm a little scarce on this game right here. I faded North Carolina for a while with Sam Howell, but it's a different case nowadays. Maybe they build it in the right direction. And Georgia State, we all know what they are capable of with their run game and what they model themselves in doing. But at the same time, Georgia State's one of those teams you just got to grow to love them. You got to wait few weeks till you really are solid on what they're doing. Not a team I want to jump out there this early in the season with and not really know exactly how good they are. But if they are a great team, then yeah, maybe they could pull the upset today. But if they're still, got some milestones to get past, then North Carolina could cover somehow, some way. But I won't get to the win with that.
All right, Ohio and Penn State next up. Penn State laying 4 touchdowns in this one, 54 the total. In this game. It was a great escape by Penn State against Purdue in their first game, and I mean escape. I definitely don't think Penn State played great. I know Sean Clifford didn't play great. He still made some mistakes, and that's what you get with Clifford. He makes some great plays and then some bad interception. That pick 6 was horrible. So you get a little bit of that from him. The defense was good at times, not so good at times. I mean, I'm not ready to lay 4 touchdowns with Penn State. I was stunned by Ohio's performance last week against a Florida Atlantic team that just absolutely waxed Charlotte, which probably tells you where Charlotte is right now. And then Ohio turns around and beats Florida Atlantic last week. And I didn't expect that. I thought Ohio was going to be in for a bit of a down season. I thought the writing was on the wall for the Bobcats when Frank Solich, who'd been there forever, retired, almost like, hey, he's getting out because this program's a sinking ship. But I give him credit. They had a nice, very good first game. Curtis Rourke looked very good at quarterback. His older brother, Nathan, who also played here at Ohio, is absolutely crushing it in the CFL this season with the BC Lions. And here's Curtis Rourke, who I didn't think was anywhere close to the level of talent of his older brother, and he played a great game last week against that Florida Atlantic defense. So maybe I sold Ohio short. Either way, if I did sell Ohio short, that's a lot of points to be given them, but I don't know. Now they're playing a Power 5 team on the road. I don't want to overreact because I didn't have a high opinion of Ohio coming into the season. I'm not going to just jump to back them here just because I was so impressed with them against Florida Atlantic. Need more evidence with this team. What do you think here, Connor? Ohio, Penn State.
Yeah, I am not going to back Penn State. Not right now. I got to see more from them. And now that this line's crept over 4 touchdowns, just too many games for me today to want to get involved. And what did we get from Ohio? Because I don't know much. I mean, that was a great win. Their defense did give up, a ton of points, especially late in that fourth quarter, but they pulled it out. They've been great against the number, but is this the same team you talked about from, the last 10 years? Obviously, it's different. I'd lean the points, though. I think Penn State wins easy. They should be able to score. I think if you like Penn State, you look at their team total. Even though Ohio, I think their team total is a look in this game. Can get over.
Yeah, I mean, just a surprising result. I didn't expect the offense to just rip it up like the way they did. That was the best game I've ever seen Curtis Rourke play. I mean, it's not even close. 27 to 34, 345 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Can't get any better than that. He was just absolutely terrific. See if he can. Now he's playing a really Power 5 team on the road. Obviously, the defensive challenge will be much increased this week. Let's see how he handles it. What do you think, Big Ragoo?
Ohio, yeah, that was a good game for them. I laid off FAU. I was leaning towards them last week. I laid off. I just had to take a wait and see because, like you said, with Ohio, the jury was going to be out with them too. And then, these MAC teams, they usually give some of these Big Ten teams fits. That's where they kind of live. That's their territory. But I think with Clifford at home, Penn State. If I'm going to ever back Penn State, it's always in Happy Valley. Like you said, they got away with that win against Purdue last week, which I like fading Franklin on the road. But this is a spot I think Penn State's capable of, with some downhill action late in the game, but they could get the cover. But I really don't want to lay it this early in the season with them. There's going to be a lot of wait and see. This is like, where the rubber meets the road weeks, where you see teams that play 2 games, 1, 2, 3 games, third game, some teams, and you'll get a better judgment for them. But here, I don't want to lay the 24.5. I still show some value in that number in my numbers here. Believe it or not, I show value over up to 28 points here. But for the most part, it's going to be a pass. But I think Penn State, they get a late cover here.
And the thing about Penn State too, when you're taking them in this big favorites role, we've seen James Franklin act like a jerk before. Where they're up by 28, 31, we'll kick a field goal and we'll do this nonsense. So it's good for the people that lay the big points with Penn State. It's not good for anyone that thinks sportsmanship and class should be something that people should conduct themselves. What do you think here, DJ Big Boss?
Well, I feel we haven't seen anything out of this Penn State team that lead us to believe that they can cover 24 points. And that's just the bottom line of the game. So it's something I'm not getting involved with. But Penn State got a lot to prove with us. They're always been kind of a sporadic team. You don't know what you'll get from week to week. So definitely stay away from this game.
All right, we've got UTSA, meet the Roadrunners taking on Army. UTSA 2.5-point road favorites here in West Point, total 53.5 in this game. This is an interesting spot for UTSA, and it's a dubious one. Coming off just an emotional game against Houston. What an incredible college football. There were a ton of incredible college football games last week. Houston and UTSA was one of them. It was just wild. Houston looked like they won the game. UTSA with no timeouts, goes right down the field, gets in field goal range, ties it up, forces OT, and then they lose, of course, in OT. The third round of overtime where they just do alternating 2-point conversion attempts. That is where Houston ended up getting the victory in OT. So you got to bounce back from that tough loss. And guess who you play next week? Texas. A huge in-state game for UTSA next week. So how do you handle Army here? Short week, preparing for the triple option, never an easy assignment. So I'm not in a rush to take UTSA in this spot. But here's the problem with taking Army. They're in a position now at +2.5 where they've got to win the game. The Roadrunners are still 15-3 straight up in their last 18 games. I mean, they've been absolutely phenomenal. Jeff Traylor is one of the great coaches in college football, especially from the group of 5. And I just don't buy into this Army defense ever stopping anybody. It's the same issue with them, the same old shit when they play a good team and a good offense. And UTSA has a good offense with Frank Harris at quarterback. They just never get stops when they need them. I mean, you saw last year, what did Wake Forest put on them? Army couldn't stop them. Wake Forest probably could have kept scoring over and over last year against Army. Look at last week against Coastal Carolina. Army keeps on moving that ball with that triple option, getting themselves back into the game. And every time they did, bing, there's Grayson McCall and Coastal Carolina going down the field and punching in another touchdown. They just can't get stops when they need them. So I can't take Army with that defense. I just can't. So it's a pass for me. It's a tough game from a side perspective. Small lean to the over, but again, you're not going to get pace on either side. UTSA, pretty methodical, and we know Army is. They'll run that play clock right down to 0, so you're not going to get pace. You better hope to get efficiency offensively if that game's going to go over the total. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, that's what it seems like it's been. The defense is just a little bit soft as of late, but the offense has been able to move it for Army, and their games have been going over. Um, that's where I'd look here. I think UTSA can score on Army, and I think Army's going to score right back. This game is on the borderline. I just haven't bet it. This is a tough spot for UTSA. They play Texas next week. I was talking to good old Jose, who we know loves UTSA. They need this one, because if not, they could be 0-3, and the season does not look great. I mean, they still have conference play. But in the end, I think I'm going to stay off. There's no way at 2.5, 3, I want to take UTSA. So this is a watch for me and lean over.
UTSA is better against the run. And so certainly statistically last year they were, and obviously they're going to face a lot of that here. And they've got some receivers that played well for them last week. I mean, they were more of a run-first offense last year. I think they're letting Harris air it out more, because he had 337 passing yards against Houston last week. I think he's going to try to air it out more. They got Sakari Franklin, Joshua Cephas. Both of those guys played great last week against Houston. So it could be more of a passing offense this year. More balance, I mean. They'll still run it, but they'll look to throw it more than they did last year. I think they've got more confidence in the arm and the passing acumen of Frank Harris this year. What do you think here, Big Ragoo?
Like you said, the spot, that's the key for this team here. Early start, West Point.
Yeah.
Two contrasting styles. There is some history here. Traylor, nice coach, man. First year bowl eligible, 12-win season the following year, and he's played Army, and Army's beaten him once already. And they've only had like 2 other games in the series. Army's come out on top of those. But, it's two contrasting styles. Both have clock management in different ways. Like, they both average about 36, 37 minutes per each. I just think Army, is going to dictate the pace on their terms. And then, of course, like you said, the concerns for Army is their defense. But I think the third downs are going to be huge here for UTSA. And if they're able to stop Army, then they'll control it a little bit better. But I still like Army here. I got to go with a little bit of history. And even though their defense is a little suspect, I think Army has been not what we call balanced. 80% run is not really balanced, but better than 95 than what they used to be. So Army will come up with the occasional trick play maybe to make the difference here. So I'm going to back Army on the money line. I'm taking them plus 120.
All right, we'll see it. Look, totally rebuilt defensive line this year for Army, and it definitely looked like they had some issues last week. Let's see if they're a little bit better. They're going to need to be here today. What do you think here, DJ?
Hey, I'm going to follow my man Big Ragoo, but I'm going to take the points, though. I'm not going to jump on that money line. But in this one, my initial feeling on this game, I felt like the wrong team was favored. So got to take Army plus the points in this one.
All right, Southern Miss, Miami next up. We've got the Hurricanes, 26.5-point home favorites, 50-50.5 the total in this game. Last I checked, Southern Miss quarterback Ty Keys may not play, and he got injured last week in the game against Liberty. Questionable, so we'll see if he plays. Not, they'll probably turn to Trey Lowe, who's next in line, and doesn't have a ton of experience behind him, but it looks like last year he actually got into some game. Remember, they were riddled at quarterback with injuries last year, and he had 42 pass attempts last year for Southern Miss. So he does have some experience, Trey Lowe, if he's the guy at quarterback for Southern Miss. With Ty Keys at quarterback, I might have considered a plus points here with the Golden Eagles just because Miami's got bigger games on deck. But now without him, you wonder how this offense is going to move the football in this game against Miami. It's going to be a lot of Frank Gore early and often. You would think Frank Gore Jr., the running back for Southern Miss, he's probably going to be called upon a lot in this game. If there's props offered in this game, Frank Gore rush attempts or rush yards might be worth a look, because that could be the entire offense today for Southern Miss. So I'm not going to get involved. Like I say, I cashed a ticket with Southern Miss last week. They lost in overtime to Liberty, but they covered. They were getting 3.5, 4. They covered. They lost by 3, even with the quarterback getting injured in that game, and they still almost beat Liberty. This is going to be an improved football team this year, but going on the road against Miami, quarterback maybe out, limited offense against that Miami defense. And what Miami can do offensively with Tyler Van Dyke, it's going to be something completely different and a much bigger challenge for Southern Miss defense, which isn't bad. But you go from that Liberty team, which has got a new quarterback and a much weaker offense compared to Malik Willis, Liberty team last year, and now you go to Tyler Van Dyke and this what could be very potent Miami offense. It's going to be a lot tougher for Southern Miss. So off the game, I think people have it right with betting the under. The under's getting hammered right now, 57.5, all the way down to 50.5. Big move, but I can see why the under's taking money. I think it's going to be hard for Southern Miss to move the ball, and Miami with a big lead might just, ride that clock out to the end here today. What do you think here, Conor Mac?
Real quick, I got to hit the chat real fast. Hit the like button. Thanks for joining us. Real Deal Prime, Lee, Nuke Worker, my man, Viper and B, Moneyline Mills, Jake Kaiser, Sammy Comer. What's up, my man? Coin, good to see you. Brooklyn Funk Project, Andrew Card, Jim G. Martinez. Shout out to everyone. Nunya, Gas Report, Ross Pitts. Shout out to everyone as we're here week 2. Get me hyped up. I looked at this game long and hard. I wanted to get at Miami first half if it was under 14. It's mostly 14.5. I didn't pull the trigger. I don't trust Southern Miss or their defense. I think Van Dyke could do what they want, but I don't want them full game, and in the end, I stayed off.
Exactly. Look, I don't want to go crazy and gush over it because Bethune-Cookman's as bad as it gets, but still to put 70 points on the board against them, Miami offense is going to be very good this year. What do you think here, Big Ragoo?
Yeah, resurgence in Miami with Cristobal getting the troops rallied down there. And like you said, it's going to be all Frank Gore action today for Southern Miss. So if they're able to run the ball just a little bit early, then later on, Miami takes control without question. But it'll be a little bit of a fight early for Southern Miss, and then it's all Miami after that.
All right. What do you think here, boss?
Man, Miami scored 70 in a game for real last week. So I'm not sure. Are we looking at a great offense or something coming along? If I would take this game anyway, I'd have to lay the points and take Miami.
All right, next up we've got, these are all still noon Eastern kickoffs, by the way, same as this one, Duke and Northwestern. Northwestern 10.5 point home favorites, 56.5 the total. This is a tough one because look, Northwestern's not in the point spread range here where I feel comfortable with them. I like Northwestern as underdogs like they were against Nebraska with a great performance, by the way. Ryan Helinski was good. They ran the football. The defense forced turnovers, got stops when they needed it. And, should know by this point, or at least I thought Northwestern may have a tough year, but it seems like Pat Fitzgerald teams after a really down year, they're better the next year. And maybe that's going to be the case for Northwestern this year. But I was very impressed with them. I wanted to take Northwestern, but then I saw it. I thought the odds makers would give Duke too much credit for beating a pathetic, and I mean pathetic, Temple team last week. Temple was maybe the worst performance I've seen of any team last week. They were that bad. They were that inept. I was not willing to give Duke all kinds of credit for looking so good in that game because I think Temple was that bad. If you watch the game, that was Temple being that bad, I think, more than Duke being that good, in my opinion. And I thought maybe, though, because they just beat them by such a lopsided score last week, Temple, that maybe we'd get Northwestern 3.5, 4-point home favorites here. It wasn't the case. Odds makers didn't give Duke any respect for that win, just like I didn't. And they opened Northwestern, over a touchdown. And then the bettors bet it up to 10.5. So, unfortunately, not the value I want to take Northwestern. But I'm not ready to trust Duke just yet. Duke's got to go on the road now against a physical Big Ten team, a team that I think defensively might be better than I thought. I was impressed with Brian Helinski. I could only take Northwestern here, lay the points, but again, not getting the number I was hoping for. I still don't think Duke's that good. Maybe they'll prove me wrong today, but I still don't think Duke is that good. What do you think here, Conor Mac?
Yeah, I'm not going to take Duke here either. You mentioned the numbers. Just Fitzgerald isn't great, as a favorite, especially when it creeps to double digits like it is right now. This total too moved up a little bit to 57.5. And it's all in the under on some of it. And it is because Fitzgerald, especially as a favorite, last 19, 16-3 to the under, 28-7 as a favorite in the under. That's the only way I'd look. I don't think I bet this one. And will Helinski throw it around? This is an interesting game. This is week 2. I want to see. Duke beat a bad Temple team, and then obviously Northwestern having the long layoff since the game in Ireland, beating Nebraska. So how do they look coming out? I think it's kind of the old Northwestern. I'd lean them, but I'm just not going to lay doubles.
I mean, their quarterback, Riley Leonard, for Duke last week looked great against Temple. But, how much was Temple making them look good? I mean, 30-0. It was a debacle. It's like they didn't even practice all summer and the spring and summer for this game. Like they had all spring and summer to get ready for Duke, and it didn't look like they practiced a lick. I mean, they just couldn't make even simple plays. They could barely cross midfield on offense for much of that game, Temple. It was that bad going up against Duke. So see if Duke is that good, maybe they will cover here. But I think there's a huge greater challenge compared to Temple at home, now Northwestern on the road, and Northwestern off a bye week too. They didn't play last week after the Nebraska win in Ireland, so extra week to prepare, extra time to prepare for Fitzgerald for this game. What do you think, Big Ragoo?
Not only that, but Duke beat these guys last year too, so it's going to be a little revenge on their mind for this game. Not to say that they beat them by margin, but when I looked at this, I was looking at the total, and I still think there's some value in the under in this game. I just think Northwestern's going to play a more physical game and try to not put the game on their defense, because Helinski was a stud in that game in Dublin, and that was a good win for me on that game there. But he showed me some things in that game, and I think more balanced attack. I think both sides of the ball are going to be a little more equal. Northwestern does play better on the defensive side usually, but I think they kind of put their defense to task today, and I think the game stays under.
All right, liking the under. Does feel like we could get but two defensive-minded guys as well. Duke is not going to play fast, neither is Northwestern, so could see this game stay under. I would agree. What do you think here, boss?
I like the under, and I like Duke plus the points too. One thing, despite year in and year out, Duke, that secondary seems to make plays back there at times. So they may struggle on offense. They may not be big enough up front, but somehow they're able to have some good coverage downfield. So I like the under in saying that, and I also like Duke plus the points. Northwestern, now I was a great believer that, this year's going to be a lot better than the years before, a lot more time to prepare, all types of things, but there's still that sporadic team that can go up and down week for week. So it's a lot to be told about Northwestern, but early right here, especially after they beat them last year, I like Duke plus the points.
All right, Duke.
Yeah, Northwestern, real quick. I was, that offensive line threw around Nebraska. I know, in that game, especially the second half. If they do that here, they'll take care of business.
Yeah, exactly. They got stronger, no question, as that game went on, especially up front in the trenches. That was a trench war that was won decisively, I thought, in the second half. Really, both sides of the football by Northwestern in that game in Ireland against Nebraska. All right, Missouri and Kansas State. Another early kickoff here, noon Eastern. Missouri down to 7.5 now. Kansas State down to 7.5-point home favorites, 53 the total in this game. So this is a total move down I kind of disagree with, because I think still of Missouri as an over team. And Kansas State does play slow. There's no question. But they've also hinted this year in the spring with the new offensive coordinator, Colin Klein, who's a former Kansas State quarterback many years ago. You remember Colin Klein very well when he under Bill Snyder. But Colin Klein wanted to play with some tempo this year for this offense for Kansas State. This could be the day you see it here against Missouri potentially. And Missouri still got some holes on defense, but, I do like the potential for their offense. Brady Cook looked good in Eli Drinkwitz's offense last week, played very well. They ran the ball pretty well. Now, it was against Louisiana Tech, but Mizzou's offense was good, and the defense did show some signs of improvement last week. And Missouri, to me, is a team that catching points, that's where I'm interested in backing them. Do I want to lay big? I actually did lay big points last week, but Louisiana Tech starting from scratch. And I'm still not sold on Adrian Martinez. Look, last week, South Dakota is not a great FCS team either. He was 11 for 15. They didn't ask him to throw the ball too much. Now, that's not a bad completion rate, but they didn't ask him to do too much. He's going to have to do a lot more here. He's going to have to prove to me he's going to be capable of being a starting quarterback that can lay more than a touchdown. Because I guarantee you, if you bet against Adrian Martinez in his Nebraska days, when he and his team were laying more than a touchdown, you were raking in the profit. You were raking in the cash. So I'm putting that to the test here with Missouri plus the points. And with this total now down to 53, it looks like across the board, I'm interested in bucking that, looking the other way maybe with the over here. What do you think here, Connor? Missouri, K-State.
Yeah, I think this might just be a little bit too big. I just don't know enough about Missouri. I need to see them play a little bit more. I did watch some of the game against La Tech. Cook looked okay, but coming to an environment here in Manhattan, not an easy place to play. I wish this was under a touchdown, but still, even with that, with K-State, I don't want to back Martinez, and that's why I can't laying over the touchdown here. I'd be handing it off to Vaughn a lot today, though, if I was K-State.
Big Ragoo.
I leaned under at first with this one. I think the market's got that way, but I think the better number might have got away for sure. And I think we'll see a lot of Martinez, like you guys were saying. So they'll figure some things out there. And Missouri, you're right. And Missouri's going to be one of these over teams, going forward. They've always had their struggles on defense, but I don't know how much offense K-State's going to generate to kind of, push that number up over the total. But that's why I was kind of leaning towards the under here. But it's going to be a back and forth game. Maybe is the number sitting at 7.5 still on this one?
7.5. Yep.
Yeah. So I think you might find a little value there with K-State because I think, Missouri because I think I think a touchdown. I think if they trade touchdowns, touchdown to a field goal here or there, I think that, there might be a little overlay in that number with 7.5. So I would lean towards the dog.
All right, leaning towards Missouri as well. What do you think, Bob?
Not sure if I want to lay 7.5 with K-State yet. I'm not sure what Missouri's full potential is this year. So this is a game I have to stay away. Just not enough story to be told about either of the two teams. These when they come out and play some of these South Dakotas and stuff like that, it's really not a pure look into what we're going to get from the team for the season. So I don't have any high hopes on either side of this game right here. So I'll be off.
All right, we've got a great early game in the SEC here next up. South Carolina and Arkansas. We've got Arkansas 9-point home favorites, 56 the total. Arkansas has taken money. The over has taken money. And I think the over's taken money because South Carolina, on offense left some points on the board last week, and Arkansas certainly did against Cincinnati. And I think people see offensive improvements coming in this game for both teams, but I don't know. I'm not so sure about that because I wouldn't sell either defense short here in this game. I mean, I was very impressed with Shane Beamer's defense last week against Georgia State. They played well, especially in the second half. They really neutralized the Panthers. And good old chip off the old block, Frank Beamer looking like his dad, Shane Beamer looking like his dad, Frank Beamer, I should say, with the great special teams. I mean, block punts, returned for touchdowns in that game against Georgia State. So not shocking to see the son of Frank Beamer, Shane, with a good special teams unit there with the South Carolina Gamecocks. And I think South Carolina is going to be this year's Arkansas, believe it or not. Where Arkansas last year, remember how undervalued they were, and there was always great point spread, not value to bet them last year, and they were a cash cow, ATS. I think that's going to be South Carolina this year, whereas Arkansas, they might, as much as I like them, and I like Jefferson, the defense is good, they can run the football, Pittman's done a great job, they're not going to be the same value point spread team they were last year. I think that's South Carolina this year. I haven't bet it yet, but it's up to 9. Gosh, if this was ever to hit 10 before the kickoff in the next 90 minutes, I'd grab something on South Carolina if it got to 10, but I still lean Gamecocks at the current number. What do you think, C-Mac?
Yeah, it wasn't enough for me too. I want to see more with Rattler, which will be good. I can't wait to watch this one. I think Jefferson is the key. I think he was the difference just in getting under a touchdown last week. Arkansas dealing with a little bit of injuries. I saw someone put that in the chat. Even in their secondary, the defense leaked a little bit. I lean to the points. I think Arkansas is the better team in this one. But you're right. Maybe special teams comes into play here with Beamer today and keeps this game close.
All right. What do you think, Big Ragoo?
If you don't think special teams means something, go ask Florida State and LSU about that game. But anyways,
yes.
South Carolina, Arkansas, I love this game. Rattler was the prize pick, right, in the portal. I mean, he committed early. DJ and I talked about this the other night. And I like KJ Jefferson. I like him a lot. I love Pittman. I love what Arkansas has done last year. But you're right, Ian. South Carolina is that next up team. I think it's too many points. I really do. I think this game stays within a touchdown. I think anything over 7, you're pretty much safe with this game here. So I'm all over South Carolina in this spot.
All right, all over the Gamecocks here, +9. Hopefully the Gamecocks do not go limp here today in this one.
Hope Rather shows up today a little bit.
All right, boss.
I'm a little weary of this game. I think Cincinnati might have let open the cheat code on Jefferson, because in the first half of that game, they was allowing him to get outside the pocket and make plays. It seemed like the second half, they kind of bottled him up and contained him a little more by keeping him in the middle of the field where he had to step up opposed to running to the outside. So I think if South Carolina took a look at that on tape, they could have an edge on containing Jefferson. But at the same time, I think at home, Jefferson's going to do what he does, and I think this team can't hold him like Cincinnati was able to hold him. But I see this game going back and forth with scores. Rattler over there is going to get on the board, and Jefferson's going to find a way to score touchdowns too. So I think the number's a little low at 56. I think we see something in the 60s, but I like the over in this one.
All right, so boss liking the over, agreeing with the market that has pushed the total up in that game.
Yeah.
All right, next up, it's the big one at noon Eastern. Fox, Gus Johnson. I think the first time he's ever called an Alabama game. I'm pretty damn sure of that. Alabama and Texas. We've got Alabama 21-point road favorites, 63.5, 64 the total. I'm keeping it simple. I'm just looking at points here. Certainly you're going to get a lot from Alabama, likely. That offense just looked mid-season form last week. And that was not chopped liver that they played. Utah State's the Mountain West champions last year, and they could have put 70 on the board if they didn't call off the Dogs in the second half. I mean, they just got the 55 early in the third quarter and said, all right, that's it. We'll take it easy on you the rest of the way. I mean, they're just a phenomenal. I mean, Bryce Young just looks like he's going to rip it up this year, if last week was any indication. What are you going to get out of Quinn Ewers? Quinn Ewers had a very good game against Monroe last week. He was someone that Ohio State, obviously recruited, and obviously got stuck there where he wasn't going to get a real shot at being the starter because they had Stroud there already. So he ended up going to Texas, and he was very good last week. But you're playing Alabama now. How's he going to handle that? All week long, I've heard people saying, Alabama first half, you're not getting the value you used to, and yet it's still covered with ease last week. The Alabama first half. I mean, definitely it's been an incredible trend. I think this year there's going to be not so much value with that, but they did cover another first half last week easily. So a lot of people liking that. I certainly wouldn't talk them out of it, but it's gone up to 14 now across the board. See, that's the problem, right? The full game spread's 21. They've put the first half number at 14. They padded the Alabama first half number so heavily. I mean, my God, that's insane that a full game spread is 21 and a first half spread is 14. The odds makers know. They're not sleeping on this anymore. They know that this Alabama first half has killed them, the last year or two from public bettors. And they're doing everything in their damn power to avoid that happening moving forward. So it's not the great value, and I feel like there's numbers tell me I should be on Texas because I only had this at 18. But I'll be damned if I'm stepping in front of Alabama. I'm just not doing it. So I'm just going to stick to the over, 64. I do think we'll see points. And I think Texas will do enough to get that game over the total. What do you think, Conor Mac? Alabama, Texas.
Yeah, the problem here, as long as it's under 14, you're good. 13 and a half. Texas last year, this is 100th in the nation, opponent yards per play, 93rd scoring defense. They gave up over 30. That's the problem. I don't know if that changes. And will they be able to score on Bama? I don't know. I don't think so. So as long as it's under 14, I think you're good. Just stick with it or stay away.
Stick with it or stay away. All right, what do you think, Big Ragoo?
I say stay away. I'm gonna pull heel on you guys. I was a square last year too, betting the first halves. We did it a couple years ago, actually. We started that trend, by the way. You guys out there in betting land, all right? So anyways, today the value is on Texas in my book on the first half. Let that number keep creeping up because I think Texas will do just enough to stay within the 2 scores early on. A big play or two, maybe, catch Alabama off their game a little bit. Will it affect the outcome for the game? No. But it might affect the first half total or the first half number. So I think the coaching staff has got Texas ready to play this game. at least, go in with a game plan. It's like Tyson says, you think you're going to win till you get punched in the mouth. So we'll see what happens with Texas here. But I like Texas in the first half. I think there's value in that number. And I was on Bama last week on that -14 also. So, but this week I'm doing a flip-flop. I'm going to take Texas in the first half plus the 14 points.
Texas plus, and getting a good number because this actually opened, the first half line opened 11.5.
Yeah, when I was looking at it, like 11.
Now if you get over 14, I think Texas, is a solid side. You know what's big? They got a great running back in Robinson, and if they can get Worthy some deep shots, he's a great receiver, one of the best in the country. But they got to get him the rock. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I'm expecting a big player too in the first half, catch Alabama off guard just a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. It should be interesting. I think it's going to be a lot of points. I really do, because the Texas offense can move it, and Sarkisian, with now as the quarterback that I think he wants. So I think they'll be able to put some points on the board against Alabama for as good as that defense is. What do you think, boss?
Definitely staying off of Alabama the first half, but not as confident as Big Ragoo to take the points with Texas. But we all know Saban's upset at all the coaches that coached underneath him, and he keep having to face off against them. And here he goes against Jimbo Fisher. That's really one of his little pet peeves that's bothering him. He got to get these guys out of his hair. So, but they overall have been effectively slowing him down at times. Just knowing what he's cooking over there. So. I would stay off of the first half, but I think in the second half, I think Bama's on a new level this year. But by the second half, all that pressure coming downhill on them the whole time, they'll probably bust and Alabama blow it wide open. So I would take Alabama full game minus the points.
All right, like an Alabama full game. All right, next up, this is the last of the noon kickoffs, noon Eastern, Wake Forest, Vanderbilt. Wake Forest, 6-point road favorites at the open, now 13.5, and total 65 in this game. This is another over for me. I think there's going to be a lot of points. We know Wake plays among the fastest paces in college football under, the quarterback who's back, Sam Hartman, returning. I mean, that is a fast-paced offense. Dave Clawson, they've always run it that way. He's back now after missing the first game, although Mitch Griffiths played pretty well in his absence. Vanderbilt's got an offense this year. I like Mike Wright. He's played well. He can run. I think his passing acumen's gotten a little bit better. They've been able to put up points in bunches the first 2 weeks. Now, it was Hawaii and Elon the first two games. That's a concern. They haven't played anyone great yet, but Wake Forest doesn't have a great defense. I really don't think they do. I mean, I think Wake Forest defense, you can move the ball on them. But here's the issue. Wake Forest could do whatever they want offensively as well against Vandy's defense. Vandy's defense, they played Hawaii, is totally rebuilding. And then Elon last week, 31 points for Elon, 500 total yards of offense for Elon last week against Vanderbilt. So that Vanderbilt defense is still very much a problem. In my opinion, and a concern for me. And I don't think they're going to have a great time of it against a returning Sam Hartman and this Wake offense today. So very clear cases, I think, for this game to go up and over the total, Wake Forest and Vanderbilt. I kind of want to take Vandy because I think this team does kind of look better, but how much do you look better when you're playing Hawaii and Elon? I mean, that's the problem. But I certainly can't lay it with Wake's defense. I'd lean Vandy. I think I'll have a small play on Vandy, but I definitely prefer the over here. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah. Good luck to anyone who betting the under in this one. What are you going to obviously Hartman, great player, but coming off the blood clot was out for a while. This jumps up. I thought if this got over 2 touchdowns, but it's stalled here, 13.5, basically everywhere. If it got over that, I was going to maybe look at Vandy because I think them at home, double-digit dog at home, I always look that way because I think it could be close. And, yeah, I think this is a shootout.
Yeah, definitely. I think Vandy could hang, but I think shootout, just betting it to be a shootout's the best way to go. What do you think, Big Ragoo?
Yeah, I took Wake in the first half in this spot here, just because I'm not sold on the Hawaii Elon situation for Vanderbilt. I know what I get with Hartman. I know what I get with Wake's offense. So I'm going to gamble a little bit here. Maybe the number I'll get clipped a little bit because it's 7.5 on the first half. So I need 2 scores. So I didn't bet it early. It's sitting at my book at 7.5 right now, but that's my look. I think Wake, going away. I'm not crazy. The line has jumped pretty high, but like you said, with Elon and Hawaii, that just showed the state of Hawaii right now how bad they are, right? But
Yeah, no. Oh, lost Big Ragoo. But that's all right. I think he was just wrapping it up with what he was saying there. All right, give Boss a break. It's 7 a.m. there. Same with Connor. 7 a.m. there. I mean, give him a break. What do you think, Boss?
I mean, the quarterback over here, what's this? Mike something over there.
Mike Wright. Yep.
Vanderbilt. Yeah, he looked like the real deal, though. Although he was playing the Hawaii team, he looked like he could make a major difference on that offense at Vanderbilt, and they could do a lot better this year. But I'm going to continue to watch this guy and see if Vanderbilt could be taking a couple steps up from the absolute bottom of the SEC with some leadership on offense like that. But like you said, small sample size. It was Hawaii. I get it. But the guy's athleticism, some of the plays he made showed that he might be a real one.
All right. Next up, we've got South Alabama, Central Michigan. Central Michigan 6-point home favorites in this one. I like South Alabama here, +6. And I was on Central Michigan last week against Oklahoma State. But let's be honest. Central Michigan did all their damage last week against Oklahoma State backups. Oklahoma State took all the starters out, and that's when Central Michigan made that crazy push in the fourth quarter to get through the back door and cover the number. You know, when it was starters versus starters, you know, that defense couldn't stop Oklahoma State. And, you know, Richardson at quarterback here for Central Michigan was okay, but now you're laying 6, and I think South Alabama could be much improved this year. The ex-Toledo quarterback, the transfer Carter Bradley, is the new quarterback for South Alabama, played very well last week in the first game, beat out the incumbent quarterback at South Alabama, which tells you he earned the job, he won the job, and he showed you why he earned the job. Played well last week for South Alabama. Kane Womack, second year as head coach. I think that defense is going to continue to improve. He's a defensive-minded coach to begin with. I think this number is high, and I think people are overreacting to that big second-half surge for Central Michigan when a lot of that was against Oklahoma State backups, and Oklahoma State had the big lead. They took their foot off the gas pedal. And I think people are saying, wow, Central Michigan really battled Oklahoma State. Well, a lot of it, was second half against the backups. I think South Bama's the side here. I like the +6 with them. What do you think, Conor Mac?
Yeah, I think, the move to 6 is pretty good. Well, someone asked, it's just a coffee. Drink one of these cold coffees. Yeah, I'd lean to the points, but I'm not getting involved in this game. Totals come down a tad bit, but this is one that was checked off quickly.
All right, Big Ragoo.
Yeah, no look for me here. I mean, I do like the quarterback situation over there. They seem to do well with, bringing in, quarterbacks from other programs to kind of fit their system. So it's Jags or pass for me.
All right, DJ.
Hey, I ain't going to lie to nobody because I don't know too much about neither of these two teams this year. But I'll be watching, and hopefully I can figure out some edges from there.
All right, next up we've got I think it's a MAC conference game here. Western Michigan, Ball State. Western Michigan 6.5-point road favorites, 51.5, 52 being the total here in this game. I mean, Ball State, it was ugly for them last week against Tennessee. I can't back Ball State here. I think they're really fallen down this year quite a bit compared to where they've been in the past. 59-10, they were absolutely trounced in that game. They got a redshirt freshman, Jack. They've got a redshirt freshman at quarterback. That's not easy. And then, of course, Western Michigan on the flip side. I was impressed with Jack Salopik there in his debut last week. It's Michigan State. That game was, competitive in the second half, and then Michigan State late in the fourth quarter blew it open. But Western Michigan hung in there pretty good, against Michigan State in that first game. And Ball State against a Power 5 team gets trounced. And I think both of these teams are worse than they were last year. I think Ball State could be much worse than they were last year. And maybe Western Michigan won't fall off as much because I was impressed with that effort against Sparty in their first game. So I didn't bet the game. I don't want to lay 6.5 on the road in a first conference game, but I'd take Western Michigan before I take Ball State here. So I lean to the Broncos a bit, but I'm not going to bet it. What do you think, Conor Mac?
Shout out to Juan Martinez with the $20 dono, man. We appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Juan.
Woo!
Hell yeah. Nothing for me here, too. One thing is I want to go back in Western Michigan. I did like how they played. You mentioned it, the quarterback play from them in the second half against Michigan State. But Ball State just got ripped by Tennessee. I mean, we'll talk about Tennessee on that defense later. They still threw for 270. They couldn't convert anything. We talked about this on Monday. If I was getting more than a touchdown, I was going to look at Ball State. but I didn't. So too many games. This one I took off.
All right, Big Ragoo.
Yeah, I passed totally on this game here. I mean, off of that tough game with Tennessee, now they get into Maxion play. I like betting Maxion on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, not Saturdays, but I'll watch this one. I'll be on the sidelines.
That's like 99% of the college football bettors out there. Yeah, they don't even know the MAC exists on a Saturday, but they're all in when it's a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night in October or November. Yeah,
That's right.
DJ Big Boss, what do you think?
Yeah, no real play on this one, but I love my MAC overs, but on the Saturday, I don't know. I don't know if I want to take that ride. Too many games on the card to be messing around with this one.
All right, we'll start with this next game with DJ Big Boss because he's the resident Notre Dame fan. Notre Dame facing Marshall. We've got Notre Dame 20.5-point home favorites, 48.5 the total in this game. Total's gone down. Obviously, people impressed, and how could they not be with Notre Dame's defensive effort last week against Ohio State? It's supposed to be one of the best offenses, and Notre Dame's defense really hung in there. Now, I know they're making a big deal out of, the offense was not the same after Smith and Jigba got injured. Come on. I mean, there's still other weapons on this offense. Let's give Notre Dame defense a little credit. I mean, they definitely played a good game, and people, I think, see that betting this under. This is not the price range I trust Notre Dame in. So by default, it's Marshall or pass for me. I lean Marshall. If I see a 21, I'm interested in a little bit of Thundering Herd in my pocket here. But at the same time, that defense was really good, and is Henry Colomby, the Texas Tech transfer at quarterback now for Marshall, how's he going to do against that defense here on the road? Let's see. I think he's capable. I think he's better than Grant Wells, who's, of course, now at Virginia Tech, left Marshall. I actually think it's an upgrade at quarterback for Marshall, but that Notre Dame defense was terrific last week. Let's see if they can do it again here this week. Plus, it's the first home game at Notre Dame Stadium in South Bend, if I'm not mistaken, for Marcus Freeman as head coach, right? I don't think he's at a home game there yet as a head coach. So something tells me there's an onus on Notre Dame to go out there, put on a show, good effort in defeat against Ohio State on the road last week. So that's probably going to keep me off Marshall. Is that fact. The first home game as a head coach for Marcus Freeman and the fact that defense looks so good. I think there's a lot of room for improvement for that offense. It was kind of rough, kind of tough at times for Tyler Buckner, but now he's back home and he's not facing Ohio State's defense, so which is going to be much improved under Jim Knowles. So maybe it's a chance for the offense to get on track. So I lean Marshall, but I'm probably going to just lay off. If anything, I'll keep it to a small bet if I do pull the trigger on Marshall. What do you think here, boss, with Notre Dame against Marshall?
Well, I think what we saw on defense was a great game played by the defense, but when I looked at the numbers after the game, didn't look so impressive to me. 223 in the air the defense gave up, 172 on the ground the defense gave up. But yeah, we were playing Ohio State, so things do change going into this week playing Marshall. But at the same time, I'm a firm believer. I've been doing this for years. I'm a fan. We're not there to run teams out of the building at home by 20 points or more. However we get the win at home, we just like to get the win, sing our song, and have a great time in South Bend. So I don't see Notre Dame really looking to run it up. The offense did struggle, but on the flip side of things, I think the offense gets loose this week. It wasn't like the offense was losing the battle in the trenches. It wasn't like they didn't have a great game plan or they didn't have plays that could have did a little bit better. Tyler Buckner, he played his little heart out. He put the team on his shoulders, his chest, and his chin. But we did get a little banged up in that game. So I think it's a little mediocrity in there that's going to allow Marshall to be able to stay within that 20 points. So I like Marshall plus the points in this one. I am a fan. So, hey, if my team beats Marshall by more than 20 points, I guess I have to be happy at that too. But I'm going kind of contrarian on the total because usually at home I would expect them to close that game up and keep it under. But I'm going to go over this weekend on the total simply because we didn't get a lot of chance like these other teams got in the fourth quarter or something when they had a big lead to be able to see who's play with our depth chart and see who we got in there. And Notre Dame's always got some guys in the depth chart, so when we can get those guys out on the field, they're going to use them. Those guys, they're not going to point shave and nothing crazy. They're going in there to score because they want to have the next spot. So I expect those guys to come in at some point, and I expect Marshall to touch the board. Like I said, there's on paper, there's some loopholes in this great defense that we see played. They're more of a bend don't break defense though. They get beat in plenty of spots all the time. So I expect Marshall's passing attack, the offensive tempo, and all that good stuff to be able to get them in the end zone a few times to help us get over that total. But I like the over, and I like Marshall plus the points.
Just by the way, an ATS trend to point out here, Marshall's covered 10 of the last 13 on the road. So they've been a pretty good road team, ATS Marshall, as of late. What do you think here, Big Ragoo?
Yeah, DJ's trying to take me off that under that I kind of liked a little bit. But I think both of these teams play well to the under. Maybe DJ is on to something with the team trying to stretch its legs out a little bit. But Marshall, they're formidable. I like the upgrade with the quarterback. Columby being there. They're not going to be a big play type of offense. And Notre Dame's probably going to keep a lot of stuff in front of them. Also, I don't think they're going to get burnt for big plays. So I think it'll be not a game in the trenches per se, but I think there'll be some opportunities for both teams to score. I can see Marshall scoring maybe like 2 touchdowns, 17 points, something like that, and Notre Dame scoring like 30, to 35. So it's going to be close to the number. It's going to be one score away either way. I don't think it's a blowout like DJ was saying. So, but do I want to lay 3 touchdowns with Notre Dame? Not really, but I would lean towards the under here.
All right, lean towards the under. Conor Mac, Marshall, Notre Dame.
Yeah, I got nothing in this one. I just can't get there with Marshall. With Notre Dame, I talk about it with Boss. Them at home laying these points, I think they win, but just laying 3 touchdowns is just not my thing. This is a watch for me at home here. See how the offense works. It should score some points here, but yeah, I'm off.
All right, Maryland, Charlotte. Maryland, 4 touchdown favorites on the road, 64.5 the total. And I'll tell you why that is. Chris Reynolds has been ruled out, the quarterback for Charlotte. Won't play. They thought he would be back here today. He's not. So he won't start. It'll be the backup quarterback instead for Charlotte in this game. So that's why there's been money coming in on Maryland. But here's the problem. Maryland's defense is still a work in progress. They didn't cover as big favorites last week at home against Buffalo. I'm not ready to lay this kind of number with Maryland on the road. And their offense, for as good as I think it's going to be, Talia Tagovailoa, little Tua, they were missing some plays that were there to be made. They had some open receivers, big play opportunities, drop passes, inaccurate at times. It was little Tua last week. They could have blown that game wide open, and they missed some chances to do so. That's going to keep me off Maryland. I could only look at Maryland. Charlotte looks horrendous right now. There's nothing that could get me to want it back Charlotte here, but I don't want to lay this much on the road with Maryland either. Pass for me. Conor Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, there's just no way I'm going to lay this, even though Charlotte looked horrible. Yeah, just too many in this one. And there should be plenty of points, but can Charlotte score here too on the Maryland defense that I don't know a ton about right now, and I don't trust them? I'd lean to the over, but this one was a quick cross off as well.
All
right, what do you think, Big Ragoo?
I think Charlotte's in big trouble on both sides of the ball, but their defense is, look what FAU did to them. I mean, you can run on this team up and down the field. I think Maryland will do that. Take a little pressure off little Tua for sure, but I think they'll have their way with them. But whether they get to the 4 touchdown number, who knows? I lean under actually. I think it's in the mid 60s. So if Maryland can control the ball, control 60% of the game or 65% of the game with the clock, they don't have to.
Yeah, Charlotte might not score. Yeah,
they're going to have a hard time scoring, and that's the thing with the
I
total.
think Charlotte's going to maybe look to a team total under for Charlotte and a team total. Just get creative with the team totals here somehow.
Yeah, and keep in mind too that defense for Maryland was bad last year. Looked pretty good in their first game against Buffalo. I thought that defense definitely looks like it's improved for Maryland this year. What do you think here, Bob?
That defense last year, I had high hopes for them in the season, but they kind of fell off towards the end. They have a really big defensive front over there, and those guys did really well at some points last year. It was offense that was holding them back. So looks like they starting off with some of these smaller games. They beat Buffalo, so the offense is ticking, and maybe Tua maybe he is somebody. But last week on the defensive side of things, they only allowed 160 in the air. They only allowed 108 on the ground. I think this definitely doesn't warrant a 60-point total. So I like the under in this one. But I think if you're going to lay some points on this second Saturday, you want to manipulate teams that are not all the way there, like Charlotte, missing the quarterback, already not the greatest team, So I think it would be a spot that you might have to close your eyes, lay the points, but I like the total to stay under.
All right, Tennessee, Pittsburgh. Second year in a row, these teams meet each other. Tennessee, 6-point road favorite, 62 the total. The number stayed pretty close, around 6. A small play for me on Tennessee at less than a touchdown because I was very alarmed by Pitts. I was not expecting Pittsburgh to lose the battle in the trenches to West Virginia last week. And I thought for a large part, even though they won the game, they struggled in the trenches. They didn't get the pass rush on JT Daniels I expected. Kind of struggled in the trenches there. The defensive line had issues. The secondary looked bad at times. And you got to face this high-powered Tennessee offense playing with revenge after losing in Knoxville at home to Pitt last year. A better Pitt team, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's -6. I do have a small play on Tennessee. Small play on the over, too, because I think this total – I didn't love Pitt's defense last week. And Pitt's defense struggling against West Virginia. Now you're playing one of the best offenses, I think. I think Tennessee's a top 5, top 10 offense in college football this year. Hooker's ability to run, to throw, great offensive line. And I don't know if Slovis will keep up. They will put some points on the board. Tennessee's defense is better, but still a work in progress. So totals come down a bit. I like the over now at a lower number of 62. And less than a touchdown for me, it's the Vols. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, it seems like some big money, coming on this total to the under. With Tennessee, I'm not gonna take it. So I don't mind it dropping down a little bit. I still think it can get over because I think this game gets in the 30s, and I think Slovis does enough. I was disappointed in Pittsburgh's defense, but both teams, I'm not excited about their defenses. Tennessee gave up 270 in the air. To me, this is tons of value on Pittsburgh. Taking the 6, and I'm going to take some money line. That's the play today.
All right, looking at Pitt here in this one. And, off the West backyard brawl, big rivalry game, West Virginia. We'll see if Pitt's got another big effort in the tank here after. And they got the win, too, so in that game. So that's why it's a dubious little spot here for Pitt. We'll see if they can overcome it. What do you think, Big Ragoo?
I'm with Connor. At first, I was, my first off the book look was, looking at Tennessee with that offense and, like you talking about the West Virginia game with Pitt. But I think it's going to be an up and down type game for both teams. Last possession type game. We're going to see more of the same we seen last year. Maybe a little different look with Slovis, stepping up, but he's kind of filled the role there, and Whipple gone. So whatever Pitt's doing with Narduzzi over there with the offense seems like it's going to keep chugging along. So until Tennessee can show me they can stop somebody, I'm all over this over too with Connor, and I like Pitt plus the points. I think there's a little bit of value there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting. But by the way, it's worth noting, too, Joe Milton actually played most of that game last year, Tennessee-Pittsburgh. They hadn't actually had Hooker at quarterback. It was early in the year. They didn't go to Hooker until that game. And then he took over, and then the offense came alive, and then it was Hooker's quarterback spot the rest of the year. And here we are. He's back again. And, Tennessee's offense should be good. Pitt, very interesting. Like I said, I thought they would be great in the trenches this year, O-line, D-line, and I thought it was mediocre from them last week. And both.
Usually they're really solid against the run.
Yeah.
Maybe they come up with a scheme to
I think they're going to work on it.
Yeah, they got to work on it. That's for sure.
They do, definitely. What do you think here, boss?
Yeah, you got to count on improvement in college football because these teams improve week after week. But I don't think it's an improvement spot for Pitt. They played a tough game. I think they have to kind of rekindle themselves. They are at home, which is great, but they're playing a Tennessee team that is following the leader right here. I like what Jeff Heupel was doing over there. The fans, the players, everybody's buying into the program. And I already had early in the season, I think Tennessee slips up in the top 5 of the SEC. And this right here game is a great game for them to show it. They're playing I'm going to say a quality ACC opponent right here. They're playing Pat Narduzio, a seasoned coach right here. So if Heupel walks away with this win, it means a lot to what he's doing over there at Tennessee. So it means a lot for them to go on the road and get this one today. The number's a little bit high, but hey, if you want to play, you got to pay. So I'm going to lay the 6.5 or maybe even 7 if it gets there. But I like Tennessee. I also endorse that over too because it's going to go down to the wire. We might even get an overtime. I think this goes easily into the 70s, but I'm going to stay off of that over. That's a lot of points to be waiting on. I'd be sitting around with anxiety all day waiting for 67 points to hit. But I'm going to go ahead and take Tennessee minus the 6.5.
All right, liking Tennessee and a lean to the over for Boss on that one. All right, Memphis Navy. Memphis 5-point road favorites, 49 the total. Two teams I'd rather bet against. Two teams I don't want my money on, so it's an easy pass. I think Navy's a dumpster fire. It's totally in shambles, and I think Memphis is on its way down. That was a ugly beatdown at the hands of Mississippi State last week. I want no part of either of these teams. This is the easiest pass on the board for me. What do you think, Conor Mac?
Yeah, this one was ugly. I tried to initially when I looked at this, digging in and just how bad both these teams were. And I mean, Navy lost to Delaware, 14-7. I just can't do it. This Navy team has problems. Maybe it's a bounce back for Memphis, but yeah, this was a pass for me.
All right, Big Ragoo.
Pass.
Boss.
Keep it on passing.
All right, next up, Air Force hosting Colorado. Air Force 17-point home favorites, 50 the total in this one. Yes, that is a Mountain West team favored by 17 over 8 Pac-12 team, and I think it's warranted, and I, in fact, laid it with Air Force. They're that good. I really think so. Zeke Daniels, that triple option. Colorado cannot stop the run. They are awful run defense. They were last week against TCU. They could not get anything stopped on the ground. It was just run downhill, just bowled over Colorado, and now you got to face a team that runs triple option. That's all they're going to do, and I think it's going to be a real problem for Colorado. They go to JT Shrout at offense after Brendan Lewis was ineffective last week. I don't think it matters. And by the way, Air Force has the best secondary they've had maybe ever. A lot of these service academies, they cannot stop the pass. Air Force can. Air Force has a very good secondary. So Shrout is probably a better passer than Lewis, but he's still probably going to have a tough time moving that ball, and that defense is probably going to get gashed. So I think this gets away from Colorado. I laid it with Air Force, a team that as you know, I'm very high on. I think they could win that conference this year, the Mountain West. What do you think, Conor Mac?
Yeah, I think you gotta, it is a lot, but I think if you watch Colorado and you think, in that second half was just horrible. They just got blitzed. This program's in shambles right here. You know what? Colorado played a good first half. I'd look for Air Force to just run it down their throat. I'd look first half here. That 17, it always could end up right there, 17.5, even though I think they do cover. I was kind of looking to them early. If you can get under 10, 9.5, Air Force there. I don't trust Colorado at all here, so I agree with you guys. Air Force.
All right, Big Ragoo.
I'm going to do something I never did in my life on this game. I'm betting the first quarter Air Force minus 4.5.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to do
all right,
first half.
A fast start. Mm-hmm. Jump on them early and don't give them a chance. And this is a CBS game, by the way. How about that? CBS, not an SEC game on their network, just like last week when they had the Arizona-San Diego State game. CBS at that 3:30 Eastern time slot. They've got Colorado and Air Force today. What do you think here, boss?
Hey, guess what tomorrow is? 9/11. You got to stay with all your patriotic teams. And here comes one of the best military teams around that could actually move the ball and pass the ball as well and play great defense, and that's Air Force. I'm all over this play today. I don't think 17.5 is enough. I think they run the ball deep down Colorado's throat. Colorado gave up 230 yards on the ground last week. 1 week to prepare for the triple option with a team that is very experienced, got a third-year quarterback, something you rarely get in the military. This guy comes back for his third year. They got a lot of other players that stayed around. These guys are motivated, and they're playing at their home stadium for the first time. So this is a little bit of an interstate rivalry. Got to kind of be careful when you play those. But this one right here, I think is going to be all patriotic. It's going to be great time over there in Colorado Springs, and I think Air Force runs away with this one by at least 20-something points.
All right, like an Air Force here as well is DJ Big Boss. All right, App State, Texas A&M, Aggies, 19-point home favorites, 54 the total. Early in the week, I took a little A&M minus 16.5. At this number, I still lean that way, though. I mean, this is a tough spot for App State, right? I mean, that was a heartbreaker against North Carolina last week. It was just neither team could stop anybody. and they just came up short. Heartbreaking loss. Now you got to go on the road, face a much better defense. I mean, comparing North Carolina's defense to A&M there's no comparison whatsoever. No, I like the way Bryce played last week. They've got Peoples. They've got a good run game, but it's not going to work like it did against North Carolina. Texas A&M's got a great front seven. It's going to be difficult. And that App State defense was almost every bit the Swiss cheese defense that North Carolina was last week. And I actually think Haynes King at quarterback for A&M played pretty good in the opener. And I think he's a huge upgrade from Zach Calzada. We remember it was Calzada, I thought, last year that held A&M's offense back. I think Haynes King has given them a shot in the arm at the quarterback spot. They can run the football. I think they'll overwhelm App State's defensive line, which, look, North Carolina, that offensive line overwhelmed them. Could you imagine what A&M could do? So this could get away from App State. It's a lot of points because App State's not a bad team, but they're just up against it here in the matchup and off the tough loss against UNC. So favorite or pass, it's getting up there, but I could only look at A&M. What do you think here, Con?
Yeah, it is a bunch, but you know what? I want to see, which I'm leaning to, I haven't got to, is I think the under is, they're still breaking in the new quarterback, even though he looked good, and he should be able to score in App State, but I'm looking at the under because I don't know how much they score. It's just a lean, though, here at 54.5.
All right, Big Ragoo.
Yeah, I like that under look, Connor, also a little bit, but I think it's going to be a ball control game for A&M. Just going to I don't know when App State comes back and rejuvenates himself after that tough loss, like you said, but it's got to be an A&M side or an A&M play somehow, one way or the other. But I lean towards the under, but that's about it. Nothing else.
Yeah, and by the way, that team they played last week, A&M, Sam Houston State, FCS standards, that's a good football team. And they shut them out. I mean, and Sam Houston State, the strength of that team for years has been offense, and Texas A&M blanked them. So that could be a really good defense this year that Jimbo has with A&M. What do you think here, Bob?
Now we're on the Jimbo, but I don't know. This is SEC versus Sunbelt right here. Appalachian State, they are one of those teams with enough poise and discipline to be able to bounce back off of a bad loss like they did. But I'm not sure if it's this year. I lean the under because they're going to have to protect the ball in this one. We see Bryce is not going to get there and throw everybody down, so they're going to have to run the ball and try to win the game in the trenches. But Jimbo's squad, they're big, they're talented, and I think they're a little class above the Sunbelt athletes, and I don't think they get there. I wouldn't lay it with Texas A&M, and I definitely wouldn't take the points with Appalachian State. But I would lean to the under, but I need just a couple more points for cushion. If it got up to 56 somehow, I think I'd be way more comfortable with taking it right there.
All right, we got Washington State, Wisconsin. Wisconsin 17.5-point home favorites in Madison. Camp Randall, total 49.5 here across the board in this one. I mean, it was only Washington State, Idaho last week, and look, 28-point favorites. They only won 24-17. It's a little bit alarming. That being said, I did take a small bet on Washington State just because I don't love Wisconsin laying these points. I don't, especially with Graham Mertz. Now, I know their run game is very good, but if you look at Washington State, the better part of their defense is the run defense. And if you've got a run defense that can hang in there, that's going to make it tough for Wisconsin to cover a number like this. And under Graham Mertz, they've been challenged to cover these kind of point spreads. So, yeah, it wasn't a great performance for them against Idaho, Washington State last week, but Cameron Ward was decent at quarterback. And, the run defense is the strength of the defense. And I think that could be enough for them to cover plus 17.5, stay in that number. So a small bet for me on Wazoo on the Cougs here. What do you think, Con?
Yeah, I'm not going to bet Washington State. I got to see a lot more. I was not impressed. That game against Idaho, to me, I don't like it's down to 49 flat. I like the under here. I think Wisconsin just runs it and kind of wins one of these 31-10 type games. So I lean under here.
All right, leaning under. Big Ragoo.
Yeah, we see big numbers on Big Ten teams' defensive categories early in the season. And this is like a 10-point game for Washington State here. In my book, it just depends on what Wisconsin executes on offense, with Mertz. So no argument for me on the under. I won't get to the window with either side here, but it's got to be an under or pass for me. Maybe a team total under 2 in Washington State. If they're hanging more than like a 2 touchdown number, I'd say they walk away with like 10 points here.
All right, what do you think here, boss?
This is one I just want to really watch this game. Wisconsin, sometimes they seem like the dullest team because they stick by, how they do their offense. They always play a tough defense. But in early matchups of the season, sometimes they get away with those points somehow. One of those Russian teams that could actually cover a few touchdowns. So I'm just going to stay away and watch and see where this Wisconsin team is. I'm sure it'll be some better spots later on in the season to back Wisconsin.
All right, Middle Tennessee, Colorado State. Look at where this line is now. Wow. Colorado State, 13.5-point home favorites, 58.5 the total, the home debut for Jay Norvell. I laid 7 Monday morning with Colorado State. Look where this line is now, 13.5. I think of all the teams I dropped in my own college football power ratings after last week, I don't know if there's not many teams I dropped further than Middle Tennessee. All right, this program's looking like it's just headed for the sewer. I think Rick Stockstill's days are numbered. The offense was dreadful. The defense was dreadful. That was a good James Madison team that's pretty solid, but going to FBS football for the first time, and they just destroyed and dominated Middle Tennessee last week. I think they've got real problems, this program. It's on the massive decline. It was on the decline last year. It's on the decline this year. And Colorado State's rebuilding too. But I thought they hung in there. They showed some physicality in the trenches against Michigan last week, a tough game on the road in Ann Arbor. I thought the quarterback showed a pretty decent ability at times to move. They moved the ball at times against Michigan on the road. It wasn't easy to do. I think Colorado State comes back home and hands it to Middle Tennessee. Now, it's getting up there. Lost a lot of line value, but I don't want this underdog. No way. What do you think, Colin?
Yeah, I don't want the underdog, but I really don't want Colorado State. Even though I think they come back home here and win, I don't want to lay the double digits. I thought Millen did all right, while they got their ass whipped by Michigan. So, yeah, this was a pass for me.
All right, Big Ragoo.
Yeah, it's got to be Colorado State or pass, like you said, Ian. Just I'm not. I got to see more from Colorado State with Norvell, moving that offense along here, to start getting into doubles. But I mean, it has to be, getting rolled, by James Madison. James Madison's a good squad too, so don't discount their program at all for the most part. But yeah, Middle Tennessee, they're definitely on the downslide. So it's a Colorado State or pass.
All right, boss.
I like the over in this one. Jay Norvell, when he packs and goes, he never packs defense with him. So he's one of those coaches that want to continue to score, and win the game, play mediocre defense, and try to get by having such a high power offense. If that's what he's trying to install right here against this team right here, this will be the one to do it. So I'll take that total over. I think the defense, like I said, he doesn't really focus on that. So maybe Middle Tennessee, they get some scoring in a little bit, surprise us a little bit with some offense, and the total goes over easily.
I think it could too as well. Just what are you going to get from Middle Tennessee? Because they went air raid offense this year with the new offensive coordinator there, Mitch Stewart. But if the air raid got grounded last week by James Madison, we'll see if it can somehow come to life this week. Next up, we've got Akron, Michigan State. I'll keep this brief. Michigan State. I actually laid it with Michigan State, 34. I don't lay 34.5 very often, but Michigan State covered as a big favorite against Western Michigan. I think Akron's horrible. Like you saw Akron last week against St. Francis of Pennsylvania. I mean, that was not good. And St. Francis, Pennsylvania is not even a good FCS team. I think it's a rough day for Akron here. I think it gets ugly. I think 45-7, something like that for Michigan State. They cover the big number. What do you think, Con?
Yeah, I'd lay it here or pass. You could look first half, but they got this one nailed right, 21.5. I won't be playing this one.
All right, Big Ragoo.
Yeah, this is all one-way action here, man. One of the worst teams in the MAC. They get 2 back-to-back MAC games for Michigan State, but I think they roll big time. But I'm not betting it. I'm not laying 5 touchdowns. Not this early in the season for me.
All right, for boss.
It's a pass for me. I'm not laying that many points with Michigan State this early in the. I pass.
All right, Virginia, Illinois. Illinois 4-point home favorites, 55. I passed on this one. I mean, part of me thinks Illinois should win this game and could cover this number, but I don't ever love laying 4 with Illinois. And look, Virginia's offense with Brennan Armstrong, gave Illinois some problems last year. And look, that secondary broke down against Indiana. Connor and I talked about this on Tuesday on Hitting the Books. I mean, that secondary gave up some big plays to Bazelak in that Indiana pass game, and that's what Virginia does. They throw the football, and they can make big plays in the pass game. So that's what has me concerned a little bit matchup-wise here for Illinois. So I'm passing. I kind of wanted to bet back Illinois, but the secondary concerns are going to keep me off this game. Still, and Illinois sometimes in these close games finds ways to lose, kind of like they did last week against Indiana. So I guess I'm kind of talking myself into Virginia, but I'm passing. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Give me Virginia and the 4.5. They did blow them out last year. I remember this 42-14, and that Virginia defense isn't very good. It wasn't very good last year. They do bring back most everybody, and they got the best player. That's the thing. They have a horrible offensive line. But I think Armstrong makes enough plays, and against that Illinois secondary, like we talked about, who got burned against Indiana, too many points here. This one's close. Give me the 4.5 with Virginia.
And the run defense is concerning here for Virginia. There's no doubt that Illinois should be able to run the ball with Chase Brown. But I think Virginia could be able to throw it on Illinois. So to Dom's point, they're liking the over. You're not going to get pace, though. They don't play fast, either team, but you might get both offensive strengths being accentuated here. What do you think, Big Ragoo?
Yeah, I think whoever works out the kinks early on is going to, and Illinois, they're susceptible to the pass, like you said. I think Virginia is going to want to establish the run a little bit. So I would look towards the first half under, and then maybe look towards Virginia on the side, and maybe even sprinkle a little bit on Virginia.
All right, boss.
It's a total pass for me. I think I'm a little Belima biased, so I wanted to take Illinois in that one, but it is a spot where they might not be the better team in that one. But I just love the way he coaches the game and gets his team prepared and all that good stuff. But I'm a pass, and I'm gonna try to stay away from Illinois because I got a little soft spot for him.
Yeah, I remember getting Chase Brown rushing yards like way below 100 in his first game against Wyoming, and now you're seeing his prop at 124 rushing yards. So adjustment has been made, no question about that with that prop. All right, UNLV and Cal. We've got California 12-point home favorites, 49.5. UNLV long-term in this road underdog role has been good. And I think they're worth a look here. I mean, I've got some concerns about Cal now. They got a new quarterback this year. It's still the same old Cal offense that sometimes has issues putting up points, and I think that could be a little bit of a concern for them. By the way, in terms of non-conference road underdog, 11-1 ATS, the last 12 for UNLV. Road underdog non-conference, 11-1 ATS coming into this. I mean, anytime Cal's double-digit chalk, and this is even when they had Chase Garbers and for a couple years now, I don't trust them. And Brumfield actually looked pretty solid at the quarterback spot, and it was Idaho State. But granted, I mean, they still played pretty well at the quarterback spot for UNLV. I think this is a number they can stay inside. So I like UNLV plus the points. What do you think?
We'll see. I like Brumfield too. This is just the number's good. I had those too. As a dog to cover the number. I wanted more than 2 touchdowns here. And I don't really trust Cal with Plummer. We'll see. It's just, will UNLV step forward and this be a good game, or are they just going to fall back to their old ways? I kind of like where they're turning around, but this hasn't gone anywhere. They've said that for the last, 15 years here with UNLV. So big game for them. I'd lean the points, UNLV.
Struggled that offense, by the way, with Jack Plummer, the Purdue transfer against Cal Davis last week, UC Davis, and definitely concerned for me laying these points with Cal. What do you think here, Big Ragoo?
It's a pass for me, but I think UNLV might be turning a corner just a little bit here. We'll see what happens, but I'm passing on it. All
right, boss.
Man, this is one of those plays right here. I kind of want to throw the paint on the wall and hope it stick. I'm going back UNLV today plus the points. They finally got a win. Morale was at the highest level ever, and Marcus Arroyo, that seat's gonna heat up on fire. This is a great time for him to cool that seat off. He can get a win against a Pac-12 teams. I mean, when did we start having Colorado lay 2 touchdowns? That's just unheard of. So I like UNLV today. I think I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle the money line. It might be an upset with this one right here with UNLV. Broomfield's a really athletic guy. I hit a lot of first halves, first quarters, second halves with UNLV last time. I like them a little better when they play at home because you got the whole Vegas factor in there for the traveling team. But here on the road, this would be a huge, huge, huge win for Marcus Arroyo right here. This may bring his team together to have a solid season and finish, 9th or something in the conference. But I'm going to back him today, and he's not facing nothing too hard for him to do, in this Cal team. They do play a really tough defense. They're pretty physical, but they like to run the ball a lot, and it'll give him a chance for his athletes to make some good plays. I think he just, the shine is on him right now. I think he does a little better today. The sun gonna shine on this dog's ass today. Give me UNLV plus the 12 or whatever it's up to, and I want a little sprinkle on the money line too.
Little sprinkle on the money line as well. How about that for a UNLV for Boss? All right, Houston, Texas Tech. Texas Tech up to 4 now. Home favorites here, 62. Houston, the big emotional win against UTSA last week, as we mentioned. Defense got the stops they needed. Clayton Tune really got it going on offense in the second half, powering the comeback for the Cougars. Tough spot, having to ramp up again for another huge game against a really good Texas Tech team. Now, the betting markets aren't concerned one bit about Tyler Shuck being out, and I don't blame them. Donovan Smith's a very capable quarterback. He's going to take over. He started a bunch of games last year. He'll be fine. I kind of lean Texas Tech as well, but I'm not going to lay 4 now. But I do lean in that direction. Could be some points scored as well. Lean to the over as well. What do you think here, Conor Mac?
Yeah, there could be some points in this one. I just don't love that it's gone to 4 here at all. Another tough one here for Houston to go on the road. I lean Texas Tech. I probably don't bet this one, though, and I lean over as well.
All right, Big Ragoo.
Yeah, I'm looking towards the Texas Tech team total over 31.5. I think there's going to be points, like you guys said, and I think a lot of penalties helped out. A lot of penalties went against Houston last week, so they're going to have to clean that up. We'll see what they do, but I like Texas Tech over team total 31.5.
All right, Boss.
I like the full game over right here. Houston did play a tough game last week, but it became a back and forth game in the second half. They showed that they could, score when they needed to score, and I think Texas Tech always gives people points when they play them at home. So I think this one may get over the total today.
All right, liking the over here. I would lean over the total as well. Iowa State, Iowa. This one I would not lean over the total. Iowa 3.5 here in this one, 39.5 the total. It's low, but I think we could see 20-10. We could see 17-10. I mean, that's the kind of game this is going to be. This Spencer Petras, was terrible last week against South Dakota State. 7-3, they won that game. And Hunter Deckers, the new quarterback taking over from Brock Purdy at Iowa State, wasn't much better for him. I'm just looking at the under. I think it's going to be very low scoring. I don't want to side either one. I can't lay it with Iowa, so by default I lean Iowa State, but don't love it. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, there's just this one should be sloppy. I'm sure they've heard a lot of it all week, though, how bad they were offensively. This should be just a tough game in the trenches to me. It's just under, and give me Iowa State. I think the 3.5 will come in handy. I think it's a close one.
All right, Big Ragoo.
I'm going the other way. I'm taking Iowa. I think Iowa gets a turnover or two better here, and they pull away, and they get it by 7.
All right, Boss.
Man, I'm going to stay away from this game. I really like Iowa State. I think that they're the team that's progressing, but Iowa does this hide-and-seek type thing all the time. As soon as you can try to count them out, they play extraordinary on defense, and they do things that you didn't know they were capable of. So I'm a pass. But I'll be rooting for Iowa State and Conor Mac's pick right there.
And I got to mention our guys in the chat, Moose Money, Dabby Cab. They're coming up noon Eastern. Make sure you tune in right after us. Live stream of Alabama, Texas, live betting stream right after us. So make sure you join them for that. Old Dominion, East Carolina. East Carolina, 13-point home favorites, 50.5 the total in this one. I lean under here. I like East Carolina's defense. They played great against NC State. Shame they didn't win that game the way that defense played. I think Old Dominion will struggle to move the ball. Look, until the last drive against Virginia Tech, they struggled to move the ball last week. I think they'll probably have some issues here. Tough spot for both teams. Old Dominion let down maybe after the big win against Virginia Tech. East Carolina maybe let down after a whole heartbreaking loss against NC State. So I don't want either side. Lean under. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, we talked about this one on Monday. This was an underplay for me. You know what? It's moved a couple points. That's why I can't take it. But I think East Carolina wins. But I don't know if they cover now with the 2 touchdowns. But yeah, I like the under.
All right, Big Ragoo.
Pass.
Boss.
Give me OD plus the points. I took them last week and sprinkled a little bit on the money line. Hey, I'm already up on this team. I'm going to keep riding that train. Give me OD plus the points.
Old Dominion plus the points. All right, Kansas, West Virginia. Big 12 action here. West Virginia, 13.5, 14-point home favorite, 60. I'm on Kansas here. I'm on the Jayhawks here. Plus 14. Buying into this Lance Leipold improvement that they've had. The coaching hire was a good one. The quarterback, I think, is capable. Daniels, I know the defense is still a concern, but I think they've got an offense now, which is also why I like the over. I think there's going to be points. And West Virginia's playing faster this year. Graham Harrell's the new offensive coordinator. They're playing a little bit more pass-heavy, air raid concepts. That's what you get from Graham Harrell when he was at North Texas as OC, USC as OC. They played faster, threw the ball more. I think you'll see points in this game. Kansas is still better offensively than defensively. Daniels should move the ball a bit for West Virginia, and that offense should do some damage. I think Kansas will as well, though, against West Virginia's defense. And I think Kansas, after catching West Virginia off the Pitt game, I think they can hang. They've been sketchy on the road, but I think we're finally seeing some signs of improvement and hope for Kansas football. Plus 14 for me, over the total 59 as well. What do you think, Connor?
I'm staying off, but I don't blame you. This Kansas team has been covering at the end of last year. I got to see a little bit more of it. It's just not easy to go to West Virginia. But they don't need to win. You're just taking them to cover. So good luck.
All right, Big Ragoo.
Yeah, I lean over here. And did I see this right? Cordarrelle Patterson, is that his kid playing over there? But yeah, I lean over here, over spot.
All right, over spot. All right, what do you think, boss?
Well, I'm just getting a win this week, and I haven't did enough research on it, but Kansas should be a cover team this year, they say. They had some great improvements over there. I got to look a little further into that. But, if that is true, this is a point where you're almost getting 2 touchdowns. Definitely want to take that with those teams that are showing improvement that could be a cover team.
Yeah, definitely. Excellent. Devin Neal, watch out for him. They've got a running back, too, now, Kansas. Looking like he could be pretty good. UAB Liberty. We've got UAB 6-point road favorites, 50 the total. I came into this season wanting to fade Liberty every chance, and I took Southern Miss, cashed a winner there with them against Liberty last week. I'm laying the 6 with UAB this week. I think there's a big difference between these two teams. This ain't the same Liberty team offensively, not even close. They've got quarterback. They got 2 quarterbacks. I don't think they love either one so far. And UAB, good Dylan Hopkins, experienced quarterback, very good defense. I think they get the job done here against Liberty. I wouldn't want to lay more than a touchdown, but don't have to lay a full touchdown here. And that has me looking at UAB, the Blazers, -6. Conor Mac.
Yeah, this is a big one for Liberty. I just don't know if they can get it done. I think UAB's to play as well as long as it's under a touchdown. I think they can go in there and win.
Big Ragoo.
I think we're going to see a lot of points here, guys. Even though, like you said, step down in Liberty's offense from last year. But they still had a pretty good offensive effort against Southern Miss, regardless, how the outcome was. I like Liberty in this spot. I'm going to take the points and go to the over.
All right, Liberty plus points. All right, boss.
Hey, I always listen to you, Ian, when it comes to this Liberty team. So I don't really have a play in this one. But if I had one, I'd tell yours.
I wish we had time to recap all the plays at the end of the show. We don't, though. But what I always do is on Twitter, I recap. I have records and daily on Twitter for all sports. You'll see that. So follow me on Twitter at Bobano. All right, next up, we've got Kentucky, Florida. Florida 6-point home favorites, 52.5 the total. Money's come in on Florida now. People really impressed, and they should be impressed. I mean, Anthony Richardson was great last week against Utah. A difference maker. His ability to make game-breaking plays was the difference, essentially. And, of course, the interception Florida got at the end of the game. That was the difference. Outstanding performance by him. I was impressed enough with Florida beating a very good Utah team last week to not go against them this week. But now you're laying 6, and Kentucky, very capable team. Finally got the monkey off their back with Florida last year. This is a great football game. I'm not involved in it, side or total, but I'm looking forward to watching it. I think it's a great game. I guess now with the number up to 6, I'd lean ever so slightly Kentucky, but no, not going to take it. What do you think here?
Yeah, initially, I kind of like this under. Now, I think Florida is just crept a little bit too much. As much as I loved them last week, I mean, they could have lost that game there at the very end. Maybe this is 3 points. A lot of love for Florida. They are back at home. I'd lean to the under in this one. And I don't think I'm going to play the side.
Big Ragoo.
Yeah, Kentucky's had a pretty good losing streak over the years going into the swamp. I think they lose here. I'm not crazy about the number at Florida. I'm staying off.
All right, boss.
Yeah, I'm not too crazy about the number either, but I definitely think Florida gets the W. I think Bill Napier is going to be the top new coach of the year. I think he was given the best players, and I think he has the best attitude and approach to it. And I think he gets another one right here on a big game. I don't know about laying the points, but I think he definitely comes home with the W right here. So I play him in something exotic. Action. Yeah, play him in something exotic.
All right, next up we've got, as we continue along, UMass Toledo. Toledo 28.5-point home favorites, 49 to total. Did you see UMass last? I happened to watch some of that UMass Tulane game. They didn't throw the football at all. They had a quarterback there. He had like 5 attempts the whole game, Brady Olson. They ran the football. It's absolutely shocking to see. It was just if you are a defensive coordinator facing UMass, you just got to say stack the box, dare this team to throw, because they didn't throw the ball at all. They got issues, UMass, big-time problems. Tulane wiped the floor with them. Do I want to lay 28.5 with Toledo? Because I don't know. I think Tulane, I preferred laying this kind of number with them compared to Toledo. I've got questions about where this program's going under Jason Candle, but I could only look Toledo, but I'm going to pass. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, UMass is horrible. Toledo should get it done, but I'm not laying this big a number with them. No way.
All right, what do you think, Big Ragoo?
Yeah, Don Brown, second running at UMass, got a lot of work on his hands, but I don't want to lay the number with Toledo here either, so pass.
All right, boss.
Simple pass for me.
All right, Syracuse, UConn. Syracuse 23.5-point road favorites, 49.5 the total. So I think UConn's a lot better this year, but there's a chance Syracuse is a lot better. What they did against Louisville last week was very impressive, and we saw Louisville look good last night against UCF, especially in the second half. And Syracuse just forced them into turnovers, shut down Malik Cunningham. The offense did whatever they wanted against Louisville's defense, which had a bounce-back game last night. I mean, Syracuse looked really good. It's two teams. I want another game to see both of them, how they look. But Syracuse probably is better talent-wise. You grade out the talent on these two teams. Syracuse is still bad. They could win this one going away. But I give UConn and Jim Moore some credit for looking like they've got some pulse this year. So I'm passing on this one. What do you think, Colin?
Yeah, Syracuse looked good, but on the road, I think this has gone a little bit high. I haven't bet this one, but I'm looking at UConn a little bit, catching the 24.5.
Big Ragoo.
Funny you say that, Connor. Me too. I mean, as crazy as that seems, but I show slight value in my numbers of Connecticut here, so I'm not going to the window with it. But if I had to, give me Connecticut.
All right, boss.
Yeah, I agree with the fellas too. I would take Connecticut at this point. The number absolutely spot on, Connor. The number is a little too high for Syracuse on the road. If Syracuse was at home right here, the number would be a little more warrant, and I'd be like, But this UConn team, this might be a bookie special. Like this UConn team is improved from what we've known them over the past year, and might be a good spot to have those 24 points in your pocket.
All right, next up we've got, as we continue along here, Kent State, Oklahoma. Oklahoma 33-point home favorites, 72.5. I mean, I could only go over the total. It's a high total, but Kent State, you saw that game with Washington last week fly over the total. Defense looked rough. They're going to struggle with Dylan Gabriel and this Oklahoma offense that looked pretty good against a decent enough UTEP defense last week. And Kent State can score, though. I mean, they've got the quarterback Schlee from last year that's back, who's been in this offense for a few years. They could they could punch in 10 or 14, 17 points. And if that happens, it's got a chance to go over even a high number. It's a very high total. It's a small bet because of how high the total is, but it's over or pass for me. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, this number's huge, but with Kent State, it's only over, nothing for me as well.
They play so fast and no defense. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, that's it.
Big Ragoo.
Yeah, same look for me. I mean, they'll put more points than UTEP did for sure. So it's a big number for a reason. Lean over.
Am I on? It's a pass for me as well.
Pass for you as well. All right, good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we've got Eastern Michigan, UL Lafayette. UL Lafayette 11-point home favorites, 56 the total. So the question is UL Lafayette going to drop off as much as we thought with Billy Napier gone? And I'm not sure that's going to be the case necessarily here with them. I would lean to them covering this number, to be quite honest with you. The new Eastern Michigan quarterback actually played pretty good last week, Taylor Powell. Let's give him some credit for that. We'll have to see how it goes. You know, Eastern Michigan has played well as well against the Sun Belt, and normally with Chris Creighton, I like them in the underdog role. But I think, you know, UL Lafayette's still the better team by a decent margin. So it's a pass. It's conflicting. I think UL Lafayette's the better team, so I lean lay in the points. But Eastern Michigan long-term is good as underdogs, especially double digits. So I'm off the game. Conor Mac, what do you?
Yeah, that's where it just seems like not a great spot for Eastern Michigan. But them catching double-digit points even on the road, I kind of lean that way, even though I think Lafayette wins this one.
All right, Big Ragoo.
We'll see what the remnants look like from Napier being gone. I'm sure he recruited well. There's a lot of talent still on that squad. Yeah. But yeah, I would have to say I have to take the Cajuns or pass it, even though Eastern Michigan's serviceable. We'll see how they fare out, but it's a pass for me.
All right, boss.
Yeah, this is another one where the bookie trying to trip you up. You know, it's the second week of the season. A lot of avid bettors, they don't know about the coaching change, and they'll probably jump all over that 11 thinking that it's the same team that they had for the past few years, but that's not the case right here. Not something I want to step outside the box and take minus 11 with the Raging Cajuns. So it's a pass for me.
All right, pass for a boss here. Northern Illinois, Tulsa. Tulsa 6-point home favorite, 63.5 the total. I'm on the dog here, Huskies. We know Northern Illinois is a good underdog. I was alarmed by Tulsa last week. They let Wyoming's offense that did nothing against Illinois go up and down the field. Peasley shredded that secondary with the passing game. Very alarming performance by Tulsa last week. I'm not laying 6. I like Northern Illinois. They've actually been a perennial overachiever last year and this year under this coach Thomas Hammock. And I think that can continue, and Lombardi's good enough at the quarterback spot. So Northern Illinois plus the points for me. What do you think, Conor Mac?
Yeah, this is a straight pass for me, isn't it?
All right, what do you think here, Big Ragoo?
I'm a pass on this one.
Boss.
I won my money back from Tulsa last week. They lackluster going down. They could have backdoor covered that one. I don't like the way how they approached the things late. They were a little unorganized and confused. I don't know about this Northern Illinois team either, so it's going to be a pass for me. But sooner or later, Tulsa's going to have to try to get this thing together. But I'm not going to risk any more money on Tulsa until I know that they completely changed.
I would have said bet the over too, but not at 63.5. I took it at 59. I agree with the move, but it's just way too high. Too much of a move now, but I think it's right. We'll probably see some points. All right, Florida International, Texas State. Texas State 13.5-point home favorite, 63. Even with Texas State looking horrible last week against Nevada. For me, it's fade FIU until proven otherwise. I actually took Bryant on the FCS versus FBS board last week, plus points against FIU, and they nearly beat them. And they probably should have beat them, but they lost by a point in overtime. They're in shambles right now, Florida International. I mean, the program is just, they don't have money to spend on this program. Facilities suck. I mean, it's just everything's bad about Florida International. They haven't covered in forever. I laid it with Texas State, and it's not that I love Texas State. It's just that I'm fading FIU at every opportunity because they just keep on failing. Failing ATS time and time again. They're that bad. They can't stop anything on defense. Texas State, I think, can win this by 2 touchdowns minimum. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, you're probably right. FIU, there's just no way I'm taking this team. This is the pass. I don't want to put my money on Texas State right now in this game.
There has been a noticeable difference in their performances at home compared to the road the last couple of years under Spavital. Texas
Yeah.
State. So now they're back where they played their better football, and I think they can roll FIU. Or just absolutely pathetic right now. What do you think, Big Ragoo?
Yeah, Davis left that program in shambles. He folded up his tent many years ago down there, and then I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel for this squad. Hatcher probably have a field day with these guys. So I would have to say Texas State lay the wood with them.
All right, boss.
I think I made up some new curse words last week. I was so mad at Texas State. So I'm staying far away from them right now because they was a disappointment to me.
San Jose State, Auburn. Auburn 24-point home favorites, 48.5 the total. TJ Finley and the quarterback here for Auburn looked all right last week. San Jose State did not. I mean, they struggled in their game against Portland State in their opener. That being said, I'm not ready to lay 24 with Auburn, and I think you might get some value on San Jose State because they didn't look great against an FCS team last week. It's still, I think, a capable team. They've got an experienced quarterback, if nothing else, in Chevin Cordero, the Hawaii transfer. So I'm not ready. They didn't look good. You're right, G. Martinez, but I came into this season wanting to fade Auburn, and I'm not ready to trust Auburn 24-point favorites. So I'm going to take San Jose State. Don't love it, but I'm going to take the Spartans here at plus 24 now that it's gone up. Conor Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, this is a pass. I don't want to lay this many with Auburn right now. It's a wait and see, but I don't want San Jose. No way.
All right, Big Ragoo.
It's a weird kind of game, isn't it, for Auburn?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, no, I don't want no part of laying the wood with Auburn here, but I think they're going to shut the run down pretty heavily against San Jose State. I don't think there's going to be a lot of offense generated by them.
Yeah, probably a good under maybe at 48.5. What do you think here, boss?
And I think you got to tread lightly with Auburn. You know, it's very toxic over there. You know, if you go into the team, they got all kinds of like Harsin probably won't be there next year with all the allegations and crazy stuff against them. It's just a mess over there at Auburn right now. But guess what? They don't got Bo Nix. That might be a plus for them not having Bo Nix. But Harsin does go up against a former bottom barrel Mountain West contender right here. It might be a chance for him to try to show out a little bit, but I wouldn't invest any money into it because of how toxic the situation is at Auburn. You know, players against coaches and all kinds of crazy stuff. That's just don't mix. And it looks like it's coming to a head and he's going to get out of there. So I'm going to stay away from that game. But I wish Harsin the best, man. He was a great coach at Boise for a while, but I don't think him moving up didn't work out for him. He's going to have to come down out of that conference before he's able to gather himself.
All right, Georgia Southern, Nebraska. Nebraska 23.5-point home favorite, 62. Why do they have to do this, put these two teams together? I want to bet against both of them. I think Georgia Southern, that horrible hire, in my opinion, with Clay Helton. I don't think they're going to be very good. I want to bet against them. But unfortunately, they're playing Nebraska, and I don't want to lay 23 with them. No way, no how. So it's an easy pass on the side. I think we'll see points, though. Georgia Southern's transitioning to up-tempo offense, pass-heavy from the triple option days, and I still don't trust Nebraska's defense, where their offense should move it here against Georgia Southern. So I think the over is probably the way to go here if I were to get involved. Conor Mac?
Yeah, two teams. I don't want to bet. Two head coaches. I don't want to back and nothing to do with Clay Helton
and Scott Frost. What a coaching matchup. Yep.
You know what, though? Nebraska probably wins, but there's just no way I'd lay anything with Nebraska right now. I can't get there. I need a little bit more with Georgia Southern. You know, if this was closer almost to 30 or over 4 touchdowns. So just to lean Georgia Southern in the points.
He actually played well last week, Kyle Van Treese, the Buffalo transfer.
Yeah,
so I'll give him credit.
Like
what do you think here, Big Ragoo?
I'm looking for an onside kick to open a kickoff maybe from drop that on that. Who the hell knows, man? But yeah, it's a pass for me. I don't want no part of it either way. Definitely don't want to lay points for Nebraska. So maybe Georgia Southern is a play here. Maybe a sneaky good play.
All right, boss.
Hey, I don't want to touch nothing that Clay Hilton touched. So I'm staying far away from that game.
All right, we'll go rapid fire because we really want to get off by noon. So we get you all set for Dabby Cab and Moose Money and Company with the Alabama-Texas live stream. We'll group this next 4 games together: USC, Stanford, Arizona State, Oklahoma State, Hawaii, Michigan, Boston College, Virginia Tech. USC, Stanford. I've got the over in that game. I don't like either side. I don't want to lay that many with USC, although I think they're better. Stanford's improved, but I don't know if they're ready to trust them yet against USC. I'm just going to stick to that being high scoring. I like McKee. I like the Stanford offense is better. Stanford defense is still questionable. USC's offense with Williams, Lincoln Riley, I think they'll move it. So I like points there. Arizona State, Oklahoma State, I like Oklahoma State laying the points. I think you're getting a discount because they let their foot off the gas pedal. I still don't think Arizona State's as good this year. Now they're going on the road for the first time. And I think they'll see points in that game because Oklahoma State played very fast. They were snapping the ball very quickly last week, Oklahoma State. The fast pace is back. The total's gone up. I agree. Over in Oklahoma State there. Hawaii, Michigan's a pass for me. And Boston College, Virginia Tech. I like BC +3, and I lean under in that game. Think it's a very low-scoring game there. So that's my thoughts there. Conor Mac, those 4 games, what do you like?
Yeah, I'm looking at Stanford. I obviously wanted more than 10 in that one, but this is one I'm still thinking about there with Stanford. I think Oklahoma State gets it done. I'm not going to lay that. Michigan just romps Hawaii. I mean, man, that's going to be ugly. And I don't know about the BC Vodtech. This total, I do lean to the under in BC in that one.
At the end of the day, I know they've got O-line issues, BC, but I got to trust Jurkovic over Burmeister. Or sorry, not Burma. Grant Wells, the quarterback for Virginia Tech, who was just dreadful last week. Big Ragoo, those 4 games, what are you liking?
Yeah, I think the sharps are on Stanford, right? And when I look at the action coming in.
Yep, Stanford's taking money.
And I'm surprisingly enough, I'm looking at an under in the Oklahoma State Arizona game. Arizona State Oklahoma State game. I think they rise up there. Michigan Hawaii, I want no part of that one. And then Boston College Virginia Tech, I'm passing on that one totally. So I look towards the under in Oak State game.
All right, boss.
The only one I got to play on there out of those 4 is the USC game. I don't know. Maybe I missed the public service announcement that Stanford got things back together. Last I remember, they lost to Cal. They lost to Oregon State by big numbers. So I don't understand how they just turned everything around. And they're going to play this, what they are now calling the Portal All-Star team right here at USC with Lincoln Riley. I mean, he got the big bucks. He got to show and improve right here. He's got to come out of there with an explosive win on the road against Stanford at this point. And I think the number is just fake and just trying to get you to buy into Stanford some way, somehow, out of your hate for SC or Lincoln Riley or whatever personal issues you got going on. But player-wise, coaching-wise, everything points to USC on the road right here in Stanford. Give me USC minus the 9 or 10 or whatever it's at.
All right, there it is. We will get to best bets. Everyone in the chat, hang in there. We'll have best bets right after this last quartet of games. This is it here. The last 4, New Mexico State, UTEP, Baylor, BYU, which is a great game, by the way. Oregon State, Fresno State, Mississippi State, Arizona. UTEP 17, 47 the total. Pass there. Too many points to lay with UTEP, but I could only look at UTEP. Baylor, BYU, 2 receivers out for BYU tonight, which is kind of why the money's come in on Baylor, I think. That's part of the reason. Keep in mind, BYU, credit to Big Ragoo, and his best bet, we couldn't have been easier last week, BYU over South Florida. But last week, the one issue for BYU was their kick return coverage. Wasn't good. And that's why I kind of like the over here, because Baylor does have a good kick return game, and they could get short fields. BYU's kick coverage wasn't good against South Florida. So I kind of like over in the Baylor-BYU game. Nothing on the side. I like both teams. I'd rather bet on them. Oregon State-Fresno, another over for me. I think Oregon State's offense looked good last week, but that defense, which bottled up Boise, it's going to be much tougher against a great offense. Jake Hayner and that Fresno offense is really good. I think you'll see it go over 60. Same thing with Mississippi State, Arizona. I think that total is going in the wrong direction, 57.5. I was impressed with Delora. I think they can move the ball against Mississippi State, but Mississippi State's offense is all passing under Leach with Will Rogers, and Arizona's defensive weakness is the secondary, and San Diego State has no passing attack. They couldn't exploit the secondary last week. I think Mississippi State will, so I like points in that game. Conor Mac, those last 4, what do you like?
Man, I'm New Mexico State. It's tough, but with UTEP after those first couple weeks, but if they can't beat New Mexico State here, they got problems and cover that number. You mentioned the wideouts being out for BYU. I like Baylor a little bit. BYU's defense wasn't good, and they brought everyone back. We'll see. But at night in Provo, that place should be good, and the lines come down here to 2.5. That should be a great football game. I leaned Baylor early on in the week. Oregon State, Fresno, another good one. I lean over. And last, Mississippi State. I lean them, and I lean over in that one in Arizona.
All right, Big Ragoo.
I'm passing on the UTEP game. I love the over in the BYU Baylor game.
Yeah.
Oregon State, Fresno, I lean under. And then Mississippi State, Arizona State, I think the over is going to come into play there too. So, but I like the Baylor BYU over a lot.
All right, liking that a lot, and it's 54. And Blake Shapen's a good quarterback. Jaron Hall for BYU, that's a good quarterback battle. Even with the wide receivers out, they got good tight ends, good run game, great offensive line. I don't think BYU's offense is going to be powerless, even without Gunnar Romney and a couple of receivers tonight. What do you think here, boss?
Passing on the UTEP game, I do like Baylor to come up with a road victory right here. I think the defense is just a little better, and BYU sometimes struggle with top-tier teams. But they are at home to their advantage. But I probably won't get to the window with that one. But I'm going to stay on for all those that take Baylor. I'm with y'all on that one. But I will get to the window with Oregon State to beat Fresno State. And I also like the under in that game. I think that these two teams are going to slow each other down on defense. Oregon State's going to run the ball and try to control the ball, keeping it under that 60. Well, it was 61 earlier this week. And I think Haener and Fresno State, I think there's too many moving parts over there. Tedford coming back, nobody's taking that into consideration. It's not going to be a seamless transition. They struggled with Cal Poly last week. So we don't know exactly what's going on, but they do have one of the best quarterbacks in the Mountain West for sure. Probably going to be in the NFL someday with Haener. But it's going to take more than just that to beat this Oregon State team, who after their first opening game, they probably realized that they set out and met all of their goals of improvement. So I think Oregon State is a much improved team this year, and that they're going to go ahead and take down the little brother Fresno State this year. Although Fresno State has a great record versus the Pac-12, but Pac-12 gets this one, Oregon State and the under.
I agree with you. I didn't bet the side there, but I would only look Oregon State. The one concern is the road is a little bit more shaky for them than at home, and I got to see it. But I've been singing the praises on Twitter all week of Jonathan Smith and Oregon State and the job he's done there. You ain't going to see me betting against him and that team anytime soon. Great stuff. Great show. Great analysis to get you ready for the big Saturday of college football action. Hit the like button, everybody. 234 live viewers. We appreciate it. We got best bets to wrap up the show right after our messages from Manscaped in Southtown 101. All right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke, and Manscaped. Promo code Pub Sports. Check it out. Best bets now to wrap up the show. Let's start with Conor Mac. What do you got for best bet?
Yeah, we got to go quick. I'll be quick. Give me Pittsburgh. Give me the +6. I think they get it done against Tennessee in a close game.
All right, Pitt +6 against Tennessee. Best bet for Conor Mac. Big Ragoo.
I'm not going to double up with Connor, so I'm going to give something a little bit different here. I'm going to go to Kinnick Stadium and take the Iowa Hawkeyes to cover the number there. They get it done. I think it's a little reverse line move there too. So give me Iowa.
All right, there it is. Iowa Hawkeyes there in the Cy-Hawk battle. -3.5 against Iowa State for Big Ragoo with his best bet. What do you like here, boss? Best bet.
Hey, I'm going to be 100% transparent with our chat and our followers because we love them. They come in week after week and we have a great time. And I'm going to give y'all my best bet, which is Air Force laying the 17.5 and also SC -10. So there's two best bets for you this week. Kind of laying the wood on both sides, but hey, we only in week 2. Let's get it.
All right, there we go. Liking it there. DJ Big Boss with his best bet. Air Force laying the points and honorable mention to USC laying the points as well against Stanford. My best bet, I'm going to take UNLV. Because this is one of the games I like the most today where the number hasn't moved like crazy. You can still get 12.5. UNLV Rebels, go fight, win, at least go fight cover today against California. And an offense that I'm, not exactly fond of right now. They've always had trouble covering these kind of point spreads under Justin Wilcox. UNLV keeps it close, plus 12.5 against Cal for my best bet. And that's a wrap. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Go over to the live bet stream, Alabama, Texas, with Dabby Cab, Moose Money, and company. Make sure you check that out. UFC live stream tonight. NFL Pub Hub with Jimmy tomorrow. Live stream for Sunday night and Monday Night Football, NFL with Jimmy as well. So lots going on right here on Pub Sports Radio. For Conor Mac, Big Ragoo, DJ Big Boss, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll see you again next week for another edition of the College Football Pub Hub right here on Pub Sports Radio.